complex cognitive processes require the use of conceptual knowledge in order to answer questions that are more complex or to solve problems, to work in a series rather than working just on a single issue. So when we think about all of that, the first thing we need to really get a handle on is not just what is a concept really, but what do we need as teachers to have as a mindset for the presentation of a concept or the placement of pieces of a concept into a child's environment so that they will then be able to grow that schema the way that it needs to be. A schema, I remember I talked about the dog and the bear schema and how there was some problem with my son understanding that dog and bear, essentially, in his mind, they were the same thing. That was a problem because they're not the same thing. And there are consequences to making the wrong decisions in those cases. Well, in this case, how do we support student development of conceptual understanding? What we do is we first understand that essentially concepts, think of them this way, picture it this way. They exist in a grid. And there are rows that go across this way, and there are columns that go this way. And the rows and the columns have different kinds of names. Anything that is in the same row is considered to be coordinate to everything else in that row. So, if we look at cars, trucks, bicycles, airplanes, and anything else, mopeds, whatever that happens to be in that row, those are all coordinate to each other. Now, what makes them coordinate? It's this little statement right here. It is that they have the same relationship to the thing that is just above them. So the word for that, the thing that is just above any of these rows, is called superordinate. It's ordered above. So if we start with vehicles, and then we say that vehicles could be cars, they could be trucks, they could be airplanes, they could be bicycles, they could be whatever. Those are all going to be coordinate to each other because they have the same relationship to the thing that is superordinate just above them. They are all vehicles. They could be vehicles. So, the next thing we need to think about is the relationship as we go down here. We have to understand that as we're going down this grid, what we're doing is we're increasing in specificity about what we will accept as part of our general concept or the relationships that are going to be there. Here's what I mean. Cars. Cars can be, we will accept that cars can be very, very small, or just small, or medium, or grande. Kind of need a coffee. Or huge. So all of these are possible with cars. Now, is it possible that trucks could be in that same, or these same categories? Sure, it is. But when we define a car as being something that has four wheels and does not have an open bed in the back, and we're not counting an El Camino, I don't know what that is. That was, anyway. So, cars that have common characteristics. Think about a sedan. Think about a station wagon. Those or a hatchback. Those are all kind of cars, although, well, I won't go there. But they could be very small. They could have all these sizes. Could trucks also be these different sizes? Sure they could. But they're going to have different characteristics because we define what makes something a truck and what makes something a car differently from each other. Same thing, bicycles. We cut down the number of wheels that we're expecting now. So instead of bicycles, being cars or trucks, they're different. Airplanes have wings. Trucks usually don't. Cars usually don't. So there is a relationship. Yes, each of these bicycles can be micro, small, medium, so on. Trucks can be. Airplanes can be. Those are all coordinate because they have the same relationship to the next level up. Now, made by. They can be made by all of these different places. We could say, how many doors do they have? Do they have 2 doors, 3 doors, 4 doors, more doors? Little Dr. Seuss. This whole idea is really intended to help you think about concepts in terms of the way that you're going to present it to students, and not so much the way that you're going to understand it yourself, like what do we think about cars? Think about the structure of a concept. This structure is important. The one thing we haven't talked about is what is it called when something is below something else. Like these vehicles here, this is our main topic. This is superordinate to cars, trucks, bicycles, and airplanes. But these, in relation to vehicles, these cars, trucks, bicycles, airplanes, these are subordinate to vehicles. So if something is above, it's called super. If it's below, it's called sub. If it's beside, it's called co-ordinate. Those are all, that's how we organize our concepts.